Welcome to the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast featuring mountain home real estate broker Robert Martin, who has over 25 years of experience assisting clients reach their goals and move forward. Tune in each week for a dynamic conversation with experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents that explores the ins, outs, and specific nuances of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home in Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey, and surrounding areas to catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.
Welcome to the podcast. Our guest today is the high school principal at Evergreen High School, Brandon Brekke. Brandon, thanks for joining us today.
It is my pleasure, sir.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. Well, I hate to admit, but I'm not a native.
Nor am I.
Okay. Fewer than half of us are, feels like these days.
True.
These parts.
True.
But I'm originally from Boise, Idaho. My extended family still lives there. I moved around as a kid quite a bit. My dad worked for Gates Rubber Company, headquartered in Denver. So we spent time in New Mexico, Ohio, and then I lived overseas in high school. I lived it for a couple of years in Australia as a high school student, and then came back and graduated from Dakota Ridge my senior year. I spent my senior year at Dakota. So I'm a Jeffco grad, and went on to school at University of Colorado. You know, I never would have guessed in 1,000 years that I'd be talking to you today as a high school principal. You know, I just kind of one big giant accident, but I started teaching in my early 20s. Teaching history because I didn't quite know what else to do at that point in time. Honestly, I knew I had an interest in history, and one thing led to another and became my career. So here I am.
Was there any one thing, Brandon, you think that inspired you to work in education?
Yeah, it was more exposure to a school setting, right? So right out of college, I got a job as an entry-level sales guy selling retirement products to teachers, right? Like 403Bs and Roth IRAs and things like that. So I'd come set up my little booth in the teacher's lounge at schools, and I'd pitch, these products to teachers. And just through spending time in high schools and chit-chatting with teachers, that's what kind of, convinced me that, hey, maybe I'd like to be a teacher myself. I like the company. I like the conversation. I like being around smart, intellectual people. Not that I am one of those myself, but, I certainly enjoyed the company. And I was like, that's kind of what inspired me to go into education. And from then on, it became kind of a labor of love, so to speak.
I know I mentioned earlier that before we started recording that my wife teaches high school French at Heritage High School. And I feel the same way. I spend time around smart people. It makes me feel brighter. But I'm sure you've done an incredible job there. Evergreen was always a healthy rivalry. All of our children went to Conifer High School.
Indeed.
And as far as sports and everything, there was always a good rivalry there.
Yes.
It just, I think it's a testament to our small communities here and how we kind of get together and support each other. And we do it collectively as well. And that's one thing about the school districts, Brandon, that, it is a big school district, the largest in Denver, Jefferson County, but it also has a small town feel.
Sure does. It's very unique in that sense. And yes, the Conifer Evergreen rivalry is the best in Jeffco. It is such a healthy rivalry. Like all of our kids from Conifer and Evergreen, they know each other. They've grown up together. They've played sports together. They've been in the performing arts together, and it's a friendly rivalry. I can't say the same for our rivalry with Green Mountain. That's a nasty rivalry. Yeah. We like to beat them any way, shape, or form we can. But Conifer, it's all friendly and healthy, and we love them, and they love us, and they're great mountain partners.
Well, it's true that the proximity to, one person goes to Evergreen, one person goes to Conifer, and they live across the street from each other almost. So what's it like being a principal to high school students, especially now?
Robert, it's an honor honestly. Not a day goes by where the responsibility that I have as the leader of this building isn't lost on me. These are very challenging times for everybody, especially for teenagers. I mean, imagine being a 16-year-old this day and age. It's there's an incredible amount of existential pressure and things swirling around these kids that we didn't grow up with. And so to be a high school principal these days means much more perhaps than it used to, in the sense that you need to understand curriculum and instruction and support good curriculum instruction. You need to understand management and being a competent manager of budget, manager of resources. But the real important dimension these days is as an inspirational kind of motivational figure. That's what these kids need in their teachers and their principals, is somebody that they know is stable, that supports them, that they can trust, and that inspires and motivates them to be strong in the face of the world today. And that's really how I've had to develop in my own professional career over the past few years, is learning how to be a source of strength and inspiration for kids, and not just a guy with a tie on behind a desk who assigns detentions.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know that's been extraordinary times over the last couple of years, going through what we had to go through, and trying to teach and keep an even keel and keep everybody on track.
Yeah.
So very complicated. And kudos to you and your staff for getting through all of that. I'm hopeful that we're, on the tail end of that. So, we'll see how things wash out after all of that. So, what extracurriculars are available at Evergreen High School that you'd like to point out or bring attention to?
Sure. We're fortunate in so many ways to have the type of community that we have. You probably heard Wes over at Conifer speak in similar terms, right? I mean, the community is very, very academically motivated. So, when it comes to support for academics and extracurriculars associated with academics, like the Science Olympiad, for example, I was just talking to a teacher about, we get all the support and all the resources that we need if we have a clear, if the school presents a clear need with a clear good outcome for kids, our community will provide that. So we have all kinds of great extracurriculars, ranging from your typical key clubs and student senate to all the sports that you can think of. We're lucky enough to offer the most sports of any high school in Jeffco, right? We have the most offerings, and that's because we have coaches from our community that step up and dedicate their time to our kids. We are also really interested in continuing to develop our extracurriculars that help kids develop the skills that, are looking like they're going to be the most important for the 21st century, computer coding, marketing and business, those kinds of semi-vocational skills that are also extracurricular, we love to support as well. So we got kind of it all.
That's great. I think, the trades and different things are critical, as we move forward. There's a shortage of, those special, skilled labor and different things. And if we can kind of help moving forward. I know years ago.
If I might highlight, you asked me to highlight.
Yeah, please.
We have an investment club up here, right? And
wow.
The kids manage an actual portfolio of stocks that they choose based on, tradition. I mean, they're doing analysis. They're doing market analysis. They're buying and selling these things in real time in the real world. And that is something that I believe is completely unique to our school, in the sense that this isn't play money, or this isn't, a game online. This is the real deal. And we have a panel of parents who are in the industry who help lead and guide these kids. And I'll tell you, they are doing much better than the market. They're kicking butt. That's unique.
That's great. And I think that's great. Those things that'll be helpful once we get out, once, someone gets out of school, just the idea of renting a place or buying a car or establishing credit, and you're way ahead of the curve. They talk about the time value of money. If I would have done that, maybe you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd be doing something different. Who knows, But anyway, that's wonderful. So you look like you're a go-getter as far as enjoying Colorado. What types of things do you like to participate in as far as your outdoor activities, and what do you like living about? Why do you like living in Colorado?
You're right. I do, I get outside as much as I possibly can. I am no kind of advanced, outdoorsman by any stretch. I usually just strap on the running shoes and go right out the front door and go find a good place to run up in the hills. That's kind of my thing. But my family and I, my close friends and I love to travel around. I particularly love Southern Colorado, getting down to the Four Corners area, the Mesa Verde. My personal interests are kind of like the history of the American West, Native American culture and history. So I like exploring spots around the state that have to do with that. I mean, you just can't beat the sunshine. You can't beat the fresh air. The longer I'm here, the more I like it, honestly, and it even goes for the winter. I used to be one of those curmudgeons that hated winter and didn't want to see a lake of snow. But, these days, I embrace it and I appreciate it. And the longer I'm here, the more I love it.
Yeah, you're true. It's just out your back door. I mean, you can go on a hike and you don't have to go far, whether you want to bike or hike or whatever. And it can be very, very simple, just standing outside and looking around, just to admire the beauty of things. And so when you lived in Evergreen, what was that like and why did you enjoy it? And if somebody was considering moving to the area, any pointers on what might be helpful in looking at what they might look at in purchasing a home?
Well, it's just, it goes back to the natural beauty of our surroundings. That never gets old, and then the little downtown itself is great. The little restaurants and the little bars and the shops and things are awesome. And, basically up here, you've got everything you need from, King Soopers down through you can go get a haircut and some Chinese food in the same day, and you've got all the amenities of the suburbs, but you're up and out of the smog. You're up and out of the traffic. Yet if you need to go to see a movie or go to the mall, it takes 20 minutes and you're there. It's a very uniquely situated place. And, I remember remarking when I lived up here, I'd never move back down the hill again, but unfortunately life happens and I did have to move back down the hill, but to Littleton. But, maybe someday I'll be back up here.
Well, what's your favorite thing about living in the foothills? I mean, is it proximity to outdoor activities? Or?
Yes. Being out of the population density, being away from the traffic, up against the foothills is perfect. Up here in Evergreen, where our topography is basically, you've got, you're basically up in the mountains, so to speak, but you're not at a high enough elevation to where it's a drastically different climate. As you get down in between kind of C470 and Evergreen, you have the montane, which is the Morrison, Idledale, that area too is absolutely beautiful, and again, so close to anything you need. But you've got Bear Creek, which is fun to play. If you got little kids, take them down there to swim. You've got running trails, hiking trails, mountain biking trails, basically any which way you want to go. So it is, if somebody's looking for that kind of lifestyle, this is the spot.
Yeah, like you said, Brandon, there's so much for everybody. I mean, whatever you desire to do. Not to put you on the spot, but what do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Great question. I think that comes from somebody who is always dispensing advice, and that I used to not want to hear. I wish I would have heard a lot more of it and listened to it a lot more, but that's my own mother. And she says, wherever you go, there you are. Because we moved a lot growing up, right? And that was a little hard. I went to 4 different high schools. I was a new kid every year, right? So that kind of saying, that concept of being authentic, being true to yourself, and being confident no matter where you go, believing in yourself, that sticks with me.
That's awesome. And like you said earlier, I think I would imagine that's something you want to convey to students. And before we got on the call this morning, you had to have a conversation with a student, and that's who you are, and you're in there and mixing up with the kids and trying to make their lives better. So that's wonderful, and I'm sure your mom appreciates you bringing that to note.
These days.
Yeah,
Took a
for
little
sure.
while. Yeah.
So where can people go to learn more about you in Evergreen High School? What's a good source of information? If somebody's considering a move and they want to just get more information on the high school, that sort of thing.
Okay, so our school website, First Stop Shop, it's robust, full of information. It's kept up to date. We offer links to our weekly newsletter, right, which is our major touch point with all of our parents. Every Sunday night it comes out. It's available on our website. You can see information about all things Evergreen High School there. I also encourage people to watch our weekly student news broadcasts. They're fantastic. Those are available on our website. That'll give you some insight into student culture, some visuals on what's going on around here, get you an insight into the culture here and our goals and who we are as a school organization. Or pick up the phone, ask to talk to me, ask to talk to anybody here. We'd be happy to talk with anybody, give anybody a tour if they happen to be in the area. We are arms wide open. So we'd love to talk to anybody who's interested about joining us.
That's great. A lot of good information there for sure. So anything you'd like to add?
Robert, I would just encourage your listeners to do their research, because if they're looking to move into Colorado, if they're looking to make a move with a family or anybody, the research is Evergreen's going to come up as one of the best places to live around, and that's for good reason. That's something that I can testify to. That's, our staff here at Evergreen High School, most of them live in the community. Most of them have had kids come through the school or have kids at the school or kids coming to the school. Their neighbors are students. Their friends' kids are students. People move here and they don't leave. And there is
True.
Good reason for that, and like I said, I go back to what I started with. Not a day goes by where I'm not, grateful for being here. And I think anybody who spends any time here or moves here will feel the same way,
Yeah, that's wonderful. I agree. Well, thank you, Brandon, very much for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, and thanks a lot.
My pleasure, Mr. Martin.
To the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast. On the podcast, I interview real estate experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents who enjoy the serenity and lifestyle of living in our mountain communities. Tune in each week for a conversation that explores the ins and outs of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home, and catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.